Hello and welcome to Career Center. I'm Kimberly White, Executive Director of the Community Career Center, a resource center located in Naperville for people in career transition. Career Center will bring human resource professionals and other experts together to provide job search tips to assist you as you search for your next success. Later on Career Center, Nina Menis will join me at the table to discuss getting millennials back to work. But first, I am so happy to have Joseph join me at the table. John is a Community Career Center board member and a professor at North Central College. So John, welcome.
Thanks, Kim. Great to be here.
So good to have you. So tell me a little bit about Joseph.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I retired from corporate America last year. I've been involved with the Community Career Center probably going on 10 or 12 years, both as a board member, as you indicated, as a volunteer, also as a client of the Community Career Center. And I'm doing what I call now my encore career, where I've moved into academia, and I'm an assistant professor of marketing at North Central College. And it's been a wonderful experience. The exposure to the students and the students recognizing that I've been in the, quote, real world, and the students reaching out for help as they migrate into the world after North Central College.
Mm-hmm. And how has that been? Because I think about, like, we have children, right? And our kids don't listen to us, but now you have folks that are listening to you.
You know, and I talk to, it's funny, because I talk to the students in the class, and I talk to them about the benefits of, for example, using the career placement services at North Central College. I talk to them about the importance of the resume, and you can almost see the eyes starting to roll, like, oh no, here we go again. Another parental discourse in terms of the value of using the resources, but it's so true. I mean, these students need to take advantage of resources like that North Central have, because it's these resources, development of the resume, mock interviews, the networking that's so important for them to land their first job. It's critical, and they need to be aware of that, and they need to practice the interview skills. So there's a lot that I say to them, and not only inside the classroom, but outside the classroom.
Outside the classroom. So let's kind of talk about those things you just mentioned. First of all, the resume. What are some things you are seeing from your students that they're doing right and or wrong in terms of their resume? You
know, what I see what they're doing well would be how they focus on their areas of leadership. Because I talk to them and emphasize that the average recruiter who sees a resume spends only 8 seconds on that resume. So you have to get at the very beginning what makes you unique. The role of leadership. I emphasize that strongly. Get involved, get a role of leadership, make yourself unique. I emphasize getting an internship because recruiters are going to look at that, and that real world experience is also going to help the student craft what they want to do and help them determine, you know, the areas that they may want to pursue. But those two areas are of critical import for the students. The value of LinkedIn, you know, that can't, you know, the students say, well, I haven't worked yet. I don't need LinkedIn. But they do. They do. They need that for networking, because so many of the jobs come from networking. Even for a college student, it's going to come from networking.
Yeah, and that's so critical, that LinkedIn piece. And I think oftentimes that age group, they're focused more on other types of social media, but that's one that they really, once they get into college, they really need to start focusing on. They
need to have that LinkedIn, and you know, it's going to dovetail a lot with their resume, but having that network started, if they have that internship, they start to build that network, and it's just so critical for them. So I emphasize those two things, you know, get involved for leadership, get a good internship.
And that leadership is going to help them get that internship,
absolutely, yes. And then beyond that, it's, you know, a lot of I'll call the key components of interviewing for the job. It's the networking. Who do you know? Put yourself out there. And I tell them, you know, you've got to kiss a lot of frogs before one turns into a prince or a princess. And you really don't know where those leads are going to best come from. It's the value of networking.
Let me ask you something real quick on that piece. Because that age group, again, they, you know, they're used to having their phones and not really doing a lot of face-to-face and with folks. How do you stress that network piece to them? Put that phone down and do what you need to do.
I'll give you a for instance. I had a student in my class last term. And this is the type of student that you just want to reach out to and help. She's putting herself through college. She's going to be the first in her family, as they say, to walk. And to walk is to get, she's going to be the first in her family to get a diploma. And she's putting herself through school by working at TGI Fridays. She started as a server, and now she's a bartender there because the tips and the income are greater. And I was saying, well, who do you know? Well, I have a customer who's offered to help.
There you go.
Hello?
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel comfortable. You've got to do that. Your same skills that you exemplify, that you do so well as a bartender, your personality skills, that's why you're a good bartender, that's why you're doing so well with your tips. This is why this person's already opened up to you. You have to reach out and go across that bridge and make that connection and ask for assistance.
That reminds me of I was out at Home Depot looking for paint, and this lady was helping me, and she was explaining to me that she was in transition, and this was a job kind of keeping her afloat. And I brought her into the center and helped her land a job as an administrative assistant. So it was, you never know who you're going to meet.
You never know, and
so
you never know where it's going to come from.
Right.
And that's why you have to get out there. And so I impress that a lot upon the students. I also impress upon them the need to do mock interviews, because you know what? They're young kids. It's very natural to be nervous, and you have to sort of work with them, just sort of almost work on those cues. What is it that you are going to do when you sit down with that recruiter to calm yourself down, to not speak a million, at a rate of a million words per minute.
Right. Now, when they do the mock interviews, are they videotaped?
We have videotape capabilities, and sometimes I'm just going to the student union and sitting down with the student and conducting a mock interview.
Do you also go over the behavioral-based questions to kind of help them through that process as well?
Right, and the school, through its career planning and placement office, has all those standard interview questions available for the students. The resources are there for the students to do mock interviews, and then faculty members such as I sit down with the students and actually just do one-on-one interview questions. Right.
When do you suggest to a student to get started in that career placement?
That's a great question, because the school impresses upon the student from the moment they set foot on campus is to get involved with the Career Placement Center, to understand the resources. But they don't. Some of them do, but definitely when they're a junior, when I have juniors in my class, I'm asking them, so who here has a resume? Who here has a LinkedIn profile? And if you don't, it's about time you start working on something like that, because you need to get involved now. And I don't mean not involved just in the sense of finding, an internship. You need to get involved in that process of trying to figure out what it is that you are going to do when you graduate. And
that's good that they're coming to the marketing class, but they're getting that extension of what that career placement or career service center has.
I think it's incumbent upon faculty members to really get involved with the students, to help the students, because it's all about their education and their experience at North Central College, or any college for that matter. It's helping the students make the most of their education, their time at that institution.
I want to go back to the resume for a second. So do you suggest that they put everything on there that they did in high school, or do you suggest, where do you start?
I start from the perspective of what makes them unique. I want something at the top of that resume for that student that sort of encapsulates who they are. Self-starter, put themselves through college, work X number of jobs, multi-sport, student athlete, something like that someone's going to take a look at. Maybe followed by an internship. Do they have to put everything they evolved in high school? No, I don't think so. I'm looking for salient highlights from their academic career, from the summer jobs. But high school, now, if they're a junior and senior, the fact that they were a lifeguard in high school, maybe, but
not so much.
Not so much.
But really highlight your GPA.
Yes, GPA, major, any awards, recognition, student leadership, and that's why whether it's student government or student councils of different sort, not-for-profit, et cetera, they have to get involved. And it's even better yet that they get positions of leadership, because that's what recruiters are going to look for.
One of the things you said was it's the uniqueness of them. So putting something up there initially that's going to help them to stand out to an employer?
Yeah, and I teach a marketing class, and one of the concepts in marketing is what they call the unique selling proposition. What is it about your product or service that makes you unique?
Right.
And that's the same for the college student. What makes you unique? Why should I consider hiring you as opposed to someone else?
So now back to networking.
Sure.
What if someone doesn't feel comfortable? Do you find that?
Yeah.
Kind of putting themselves out there.
These are
and they're used
20,
to be
21, 22-year-olds, and they're not comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
And it's really no difference whether you're 22 or 42 years old.
If you're not comfortable.
If you're not comfortable, but you've got to, fake it till you make it. You've got to, you've got to really put yourself out there, and whether it's adopting a power pose before you go into the actual interview, before you go into that networking session, you have to fake it till you make it, because before you know it, you'll be doing it without thinking twice about it.
Right, and that's so important. What about LinkedIn pictures?
Pictures.
Not on the beach.
Not on the beach. Right. Spring break. Here I am in Fort Lauderdale with my best buds.
You don't want to do that.
No. Pictures are fine as long as they're professionally done and professionally taken.
What's your thoughts on reaching into the alumni network? So really taking advantage of North Central College, folks who have graduated from there. Do you guys impress upon students to do that?
Absolutely. So much, I had a guest speaker in one of my classes, and the guest speaker said, guys, look, I had a great time in college. I probably had a 2-point-something grade point average, but you know what? It's not only what you know, it's going to be who you know. And he really impressed upon the students the importance of having a network and putting yourself out there in that network and making yourself comfortable. And you got to just do it.
You got to just do it, and be okay with the good and the bad. So some people may not reach back out to you. How do you handle that rejection?
Right. And you can't take that rejection personally because, well, wait a second, this is my mom's best friend. I don't understand why she didn't get back to me. Look, not everyone is going to be responding the way that you want. You got to keep at it, and you got to keep at it. And when you say something like that to the students, once again, you can start to see the eyes sort of roll back. Okay, here comes a parental lecture again. But you know what they say at home is so important. And that actually leads me to one other thought, that what I've seen in some of the students, that some of them don't come from a family structure where both parents were professionals. They are the first in their family to maybe get that 4-year degree. So that, once again, that's sort of important for that faculty member, for the school resources to assume that role and persuade them and educate them on resources and how to get that job. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. John, we're out of time.
Okay, Kim, thank you very much.
You were so good. This was great. And I'm sure those students enjoy the parental lecture.
Oh yeah, every time I'm in the classroom. Here we go again, right?
And I know at the Community Career Center, we are thrilled to have you on our team too.
I think you and the Community Career Center and the role and what you do in Naperville and the surrounding area, critical. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Up next, Nina Menis will join me at the table to talk about a new Rotary Initiative to assist millennials in their job search. We'll be right back after these important service announcements.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Good things happen at the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. Experience more than 25,000 acres where native plants and animals make their home. Discover the scenic beauty of over 60 forest preserves containing forests, prairies, and wetlands. Explore the wonder of changing seasons along 145 miles of trails. Get outside and discover the good things that happen when you visit DuPage Forest Preserves. The Forest Preserve District of DuPage County, where good things happen.
Welcome back to Career Center. I'm Kimberly White, and I am so happy to have joining me at the table Nina Menis. How are you?
Good. I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. So I know you're president of the Rotary Club, and I want you to you've done a great job, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, a phenomenal job. But share a little bit about who you are with our viewing audience.
Sure. Well, I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm president of the Rotary Club of Naperville. We meet on Thursdays at Maison Sabika, 12:15. So a wonderful group. It was the first Rotary group in Naperville. Really proud to be associated with it, and so thrilled that you're part of the club as well.
Me too.
And I, professionally, I help co-manage our agriculture operation for our family. And I'm also Director of School Advancement for the Science and Arts Academy in Des Plaines, Illinois.
Very good. So you have today we're going to talk a little bit about new generations and jobs and careers for young folks. And I know you've been involved with working with students over your career.
Yeah. I've been primarily working in education. Over the last 30 years, and it's really quite rewarding. I had an opportunity to work on a project in Aurora with the school district there and the mayor and the Chamber of Commerce and Waubonsie Community College called Pathways to Prosperity. And during that time, we partnered with Harvard Graduate School of Education and Jobs for the Future, and I learned a lot about the skills gap that was happening, and a lot about young people kind of getting caught or stalled in their career journey. They didn't have connections. They weren't quite sure what they wanted to do. And with the current model from the Human Resources Office, it can be a little bit impersonal, and they get discouraged easily, particularly it seems if they find their first job and it doesn't work out, then they kind of have a real difficult time with the second job because they don't have the connections, they don't have the career center at a college to go back to. So anyway, I'm excited that our club and that you and I are going to work together on a new project to help that group in our community.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And, I just want to say, when you talked about they have their first job and they come back for their second job, or they're looking for that second job. Oftentimes I think that demographic, they're used to not really having to wait for anything. They just think things are going to happen, right? How have you found being able to help?
I think part of it is helping to build a team, a support team for that young person. And when my son was going through that job search journey and trying to figure out what he wanted to do, I reached out to my fellow Rotarians that had positions in area of his interest, and we set up meetings and he had coffee with them, and it made all the difference because he had people on his team that were rooting for him, but also they shared their life stories and helped share things with him that if I shared particularly, it would have been taken differently. But I was so grateful to the folks that took that time to mentor him, and I thought, well, why can't we do that for other kids?
And how important is that mentorship? I mean, it's so important, right?
It's critical. I think, again, going back to the job search today, they had said at one point that this generation, this group, the kids in their 20s, the unemployment rate is the highest since the Great Depression. And I think many young people don't know that, and many parents don't know that it's more difficult today for them to find a position. And then if they don't know exactly what they want to do, it compounds that. So I think that by having people to talk to, informational interviews, mentors, it really helps a young person see things differently and also have someone that they can reach out to, and that going back to that team, someone that's on their team.
And trying to locate that mentor doesn't really need to be that hard. It could be your neighbor next door who works at, company XYZ. It could be a former teacher or Yeah.
It's so true. And I think that it is helping that young person identify where their areas of interests are, and then asking people if they know somebody that is in this particular industry or works for this particular company.
You mentioned informational interviews. For those who may not know what those are, what that is, it's just sitting down, having a cup of coffee, having someone get to know you a little bit, that may be willing to share your resume to someone.
Right.
How important are those informational interviews?
Yeah, I think it's just, again, so important. It really also helps you practice in an interview type session where there really isn't a lot of pressure. It helps you really define your story, and it also gives you other things to talk about during the interview, and gives you other information, as I mentioned earlier, about jobs or opportunities or careers that you may not even have thought of.
Yeah, and this might be a good time if there's a question that oftentimes comes up in an interview that you may struggle with. This might be a good time to ask that person in that informational interview.
And everybody really loves to help a young person because I think they see, they see themselves in that person, and they remember, the challenges that they had, and they want to help that person avoid those.
I know John earlier, when he and I were talking about the networking piece and how important that is. And I had mentioned, I think that, again, that age group, sometimes they struggle a little bit with that because there are a lot of people who it's out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, sure.
But particularly that younger group, because they're not used to, everything is like on the phones.
Right.
What are your thoughts on just trying to give tips on how to network and to feel comfortable with networking?
Yeah, I think that they're more natural at it probably than we were in the sense of social media. So using the skills that they have in social media on Facebook or areas that might be more popular now than Facebook, but transitioning that into LinkedIn and kind of creating that professional profile for themselves. And, also people move around. So the benefit of you meet someone on an informational interview, or if you're helping out or volunteering somewhere, you always generally are connected to them if you link with them on LinkedIn. And that's tremendously beneficial.
Again, John mentioned earlier, and you're saying the same thing, it's really important to get that LinkedIn profile, bio put together, and a nice picture, and be ready to put yourself out there. What would you say, so as we look to bring forward this new generations, kind of what was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, well, some of my kids' friends or some of my friends' children, I noticed were really having struggles. And you would see articles in the paper of young people coming back. Their college debt is higher than it's ever been. They're living at home with their parents. They're working at Starbucks, and they're lost a bit. And it seemed like when we started talking about this idea, I would visit with someone about it and ask them what they thought, and they're like, well, that's my nephew, that's my son, that's my son's friend, that's my neighbor. So I thought, okay, even I went to a doctor's appointment, and the doctor told me that her son also had, was trying to figure out what they wanted to do. So I thought it seems like it's an area of need in our community. And again, going back to Rotary is not only here in Naperville, but it's international. And it has the ability to mentor kids in so many different industries, as well as locations.
And what is great about it is in Rotary, again, there's a number of workers, folks who are working in from a variety of industries that can really help these job seekers, these kids.
Really help. And so my thought was, in a simple way, can we, work with a pilot group of young people and help them on that career journey, and then let's say help link them with 5 people in their area of interest as a start. And I think that it will be fun to do and also meaningful for both sides.
And it will be an extension of their career service experience in college. So now we're taking it to another level.
Right.
I know that we're going to start doing this with Rotary, and we're going to identify some students. How would you suggest that folks look to connect with us? I know we're going to, talk about it at Rotary with all of our members, but then also, how else do you?
Sure, I would invite people to go to the Rotary Club of Naperville's website, or to call me directly, or reach out to me directly, or or reach out to the Community Career Center, and say that they're interested in being part of, one of the first groups. Again, we're really excited about it, excited about partnering with the Community Career Center. I mean, you all are the experts in this area, and also the Naperville Chamber of Commerce, Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce, they've expressed interest and been a wonderful partner. So I think that if people have an interest or a need or an idea or would like to be a mentor, to reach out to the Rotary Club of Naperville on our website or to the Community Career Center.
I know one of the things that was mentioned earlier with John is really talking about being, everybody has their unique way of putting themselves out there or being attractive to an employer.
Right.
How important is that for someone to really put that down like on a resume and just to share their uniqueness and what they can bring to an employer?
I think it's critical. Today, what people remember, they say, is they remember your story and they remember how you made them feel. So I think that if everybody has a story, everybody has a compelling story, and everybody has something that they're passionate about. Many of when we were working on the project in Aurora, many of the employers we worked with, they said, we can teach people the skill, the trade, or whatever job it is. We can't teach them some of those soft skills, to being to work on time, having a passion for your work. So I think that story of why you're there, why this career path is important to you, why you want to work at that company, why that would be the best thing. That's what people want to hear.
And really doing your homework on that company so you really stand out even more so.
Yeah, it's doing your homework. And I think that also, again, going back to Rotary and the context, if you can find a contact within the company that can share things with you about the goals of the company before your visit, I think that's another benefit.
That is so good. Nina, thank you.
Oh, Kim, you're so wonderful.
We're out of time. Thank you so much. And thank you for all you do, I know, with the Rotary and just in the community in general. So thank you.
It's a pleasure, and you're very talented, Kim. I'm looking forward to working together.
Thanks. I also want to thank John Joseph for joining me on this month's edition of Career Center. And to our television audience, if you're unemployed, underemployed, or seeking a career change, visit the Community Career Center at 1815 West Dill Road, Suite 900 in Naperville, or search us on the web at www.communitycareercenter.org to learn more about the resources available to you as you search for your next success. Thanks so much for watching.